Okay, I think everyone can see me here. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, business leaders, representatives of the federal government agencies, and members of the District Export Councils, good morning to everyone. My name is Oz Erdem. I'm the immediate past chair of the NADEC, and it's my privilege and pleasure to welcome you today. This is our 9th year in gathering the members of the U.S. exporting community and business leaders. As you probably know, we had to cancel our annual event back in last May due to COVID-19. And we thought we still have plenty of things to share with you, so we had to have our annual event in one way or another. And just like many other organizations these days, we are going virtual. First, I would like to thank everybody individually who put together this great event before diving into the details of the program. As always, we are grateful to the U.S. Commercial Service for their tremendous support they have provided, particularly to Mrs. Laura Barnby, DAC Program Manager. And I have a few updates. As we do in every fall, NADEC Board of Directors has just elected its new executive committee yesterday. On behalf of the NADEC, I would like to introduce the executive committee members here now. Our new chair, you already have heard him a few times, who was also the former vice chair, Mr. Sean Nelson. Our new vice chair, Mr. Jonathan Zooks. Our new secretary, Mr. Chris Boyle. And our new communication officer, who is elected second time for this position, Mrs. Ann Burkett. They've been serving at their DECs and national DEC in different leading positions for many years successfully and contributed to the success of both organizations. In addition, we have 8 new directors who were elected in their regions and joined us this year. So thank you and congratulations to you all. I would like to go over some of the highlights. Our Trade Policy Committee, under the leadership of Mr. David Day and Mr. Rudy Ortiz, worked on our priorities, such as US, Mexico, Canada, USMCA trade agreement, China Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, as you have heard before many times from us, US, UK free trade agreement, and very recently on supply chain and nearshoring activities. Our Education Committee, chaired by Andrea Rete, organized several train-the-trainer events and best practice sharing via webinars. And you will hear some great ideas today on upcoming webinar programs. Our Communication Committee, chaired by Ann Burkett, is actively working on developing new ways of sending the word out. So special thanks to all of our committee members here. We continue to work toward a closer relationship with Virginia, DC District Export Council and increase our footprint in trade advocacy, proposed legislations, and FaceTime with elected officers in DC. Furthermore, we are strengthening our partnership with global trade educational organizations, specifically NASPITE, through different programs such as DEC member special packages for CGBP study and exam suits and training activities. As I always say, NADEC will continue working for District Export Councils and America's exporters. Okay, so let's talk about our program today. In our first panel, business leaders and the DEC members will discuss the proven and sometimes new, but successful ways of increasing and maintaining the engagement level of DEC members. I'm pretty sure many of you will enjoy listening to them, as increasing the DEC member engagement is a common question that we receive quite often these days. This panel is moderated by our Vice Chair, Jonathan Zooks. In the next panel, we will discuss how exporters can create an integrated manufacturing and trade zone in the Americas. We will have special guests, Ambassador of Mexico, Ms. Marta Barcenas Coqui, Undersecretary of Industry and Commerce, Dr. Fernandez, and Dr. Solis as the speakers. Ernesto Pinal is the moderator for this panel, and Mr. Pinal is our director and the leading actor in National DEC Trade Policy Committee. Next panel is on how to create new strategies and workarounds for operating in key challenged markets. If you recall, we had several interesting discussions in our previous conferences to cover markets where it's quite challenging to do business. Sometimes we talked about doing business in the sanctioned countries. Sometimes we discussed the countries like China, Russia, and others. where the tension of doing business keeps increasing. This time, David Day diligently worked to assemble great speakers from different organizations and sectors, and as he always does, he will moderate an interesting and lively discussion on operating in key challenged markets. We all are suffering in one way or another from COVID-19 in our business and are trying to adapt to this new normal. Well, our supply chain strategy is not exempt from an ongoing change. So Rudy Ortiz, again, the co-chair of Trade Policy Committee, put together a critical, important, and a very timely panel hosting the industry leaders, and will talk about how companies can pivot their supply chain strategy in a world with uncertainties such as COVID-19. Our program will conclude with a keynote speaker, Mrs. Kusum Kavia. Apart from her appointments to several national and international organization boards and committees, Mrs. Kavia is an entrepreneur, business leader, and president of a leading exporter. Once again, I would like to thank all of our panelists, speakers, and attendees for contributing to our success today. And I'm now turning it to our new chair, Sean Levson, and wishing you all an enjoyable conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Oz. And thank you, everybody, for attending today. I hope you find the discussion beneficial, and I hope it's something that you can take back and you can help individuals at your company and as members of DEX, other companies. I hope that we as a NADAC continue to serve you and provide you the information you need, the materials you need, so that you can help go out and complete that mission. Now is a difficult time, and here at the NADAC, this is the first time we've done a virtual form of this nature. So if you would please bear with us a little bit. We're going to have technical difficulties. We don't have a lot of administrative support, so we're trying to do this on our own. But this comes as we try to do many of these developmental activities remotely. And ultimately, we hope to see you again next May. But for the time being, we plan on doing this webinar and many others on different topics that might be beneficial and helpful moving forward. This is via Zoom today. You have a question and answer button at the bottom. You have a chat function. We ask that you use those. We'd like to hear your input. We'd like to know what you have to say, what you're looking for, and what we might be able to do as the NADAC serve you better as we move forward into 2021 and hopefully which will end as a COVID-free year. Also, we're going to record each of these sessions. If you go to the usaexporter.org, the NADAC website, you'll find those available next week. With that, you'll hear from me more at the end of today's presentation, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our first panel. And after that, I will note that we're going to have 5-minute breaks between each of the panels, which will allow you to get up, take a break, and get back. But 5 minutes between each of the panels, and you'll just see the panel information for that 5-minute period. But with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Jonathan Soot, who is the new vice chair of the NADAC, and let him introduce our first panel today, a panel on DEC engagement. Jonathan.